Get a real good feeling about what these individuals are all about, what they mean to the local community. They've never forgot to come back to that local community. And then with the Ed Thomas Foundation, they give their time every year to raise money for the locals. So again, we're very fortunate to be tied to this organization, to the Iowa football program, but it's not always about football. It's about the ANF and what it means, that America does need farmers, and farmers need you, the consumer. It is a great relationship. So again, I'll turn it over to my good friend here, Jared, and he can give you his 7 minutes of fame.
Denny gets 20, I get 2. This isn't my speech, it's just a long sheet of things that Denny has going for him. Oh, it's a whole page of it. I just give you a little background on myself and you know, my connection to the farming industry, and just some background. Special times on the farm, and ANF and Iowa and farming is the backbone of this country, I believe. What's that mean? You know, I can remember Saturdays growing up on the farm, special times for me and my dad. You know, we'd be out there. There were 4 boys in the family. I seemed to enjoy it more than the rest of the brothers. I told someone, you know, my oldest brother, I think he may have been a little smarter than I. He would always strike a deal with me, hey, I'll make your bed if you get out and do the chores tomorrow morning. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I hate making beds. And, you know, it would be 5:30 in the morning and be blistering cold. And I'm like, man, maybe I didn't get such a good deal here. But anyhow, you know, I think my parents had a vision of what they wanted to teach us and what a setting to teach us in. You know, it's hard work. Hey, those chores need to be done. And I think that kind of propelled to what I am today, what I stand for, what Coach Thomas then reinforced. You know, it's always, you know, do the right thing, no matter the obstacle. And that goes hand in hand with farming. A quick story, you know, my dad was giving me a hard time. Casey and I were back taking out the corn Monday, and you know, all this farming is great. You know, all these machines, they operate themselves. So I take over for the guy that does the custom work for us, and he's allowing me to run the combine. And here I come, and Casey pulls up, and you know, those 2 are catching up, and I look back, and they're kind of like, whoa, whoa. Well, the back rear tire fell off, and I'm like, well, here's Casey get to see me at my finest moment. So we ran to Independence, got a new tire, got going again, going to take out a bunch of corn, you know, excited about that, and the drive shaft on the semi went out. Perfect. No problem, we'll start over tomorrow. Unload these semis, you know, early. Dad works at the elevator now. He's retired, but works part-time. We'll get these unloaded and get back after it. Well, it snowed Saturday or Tuesday, and we got snowed out, so off we went. Hey, but not everything goes the way you planned, but you just persevere. You just keep working, and you know, that's somewhat what my career was. You know, things didn't go exactly the way I wanted once I got in the NFL, but you just keep working. And how do you have a 12-year career? Well, I think you show up to work every day, you put your best foot forward, and coaches can count on you. And that means something in the NFL. And I think over time I gained respect of the coaches, and yeah, maybe it didn't all go exactly as planned, but you just keep working, you show up, you're dependable, and that all goes back to what my parents taught me on the farm, what Coach Thomas then reinstilled, and obviously as Coach Fry grew me for the next level. I think just along the way I had great teachers, very fortunate to have great teachers to instill the things or reinforce the things my folks taught me. So extremely honored to accept this award, extremely honored to follow my great friend and business partner Casey Wigman in this award. So I don't know if Denny wants to hit on anything more. I know he's quite the comedian. So, and those golf tips, they would have worked, but I don't ever get to golf because unlike Denny says, Casey counts the money. No, I just send him the money. So, but anyhow, I think probably open it up for some questions. If you guys have any.
Yeah. What do you own now? Are you in Clear Lake? Is that the area right now?
Yeah, my family, my wife and I, and we have 2 boys. We live in Clear Lake. Casey and I are 50-50 owners of Pigskin Farms, and within that farming corporation, there's about 1,200 acres of crop ground. We own some other entities inside that as well, but some of it we rent, some of it we have custom farm. Very fortunate for me because farming is a passion for myself. It's I told Dad, I think my junior year at Iowa here, I said, if I don't make it to the next level, I really want to come back and farm because that was my second passion to football. So I'm very fortunate to have one, good tenants that allow me to volunteer my time. I do all the fall tillage for Andrew Nicholas, who's become a good friend of mine, and he's a tenant for Casey and I. And then Leon and Byron Johnson, Johnson Swine does our custom work, and they also allow me to come back and run the equipment, and that's a real thrill for me because that takes me back to my childhood days with my dad. And the combines are much bigger now and the tractors are much bigger, but I can remember the 4400 and the 6600 turbo combines that Dad and I ran, and we were listening to the Iowa game, and those times are special, and it's pretty neat to grow up on the farm and looking back all the things that kind of instilled in my character.
You mentioned the friendship that you've had with Casey over the years and the current working relationship you have with him now. What's this like for you, knowing that you guys are the first 2 of, I'm sure, countless other Iowa players down the road that are going to be included on this wall?
It's a big honor. Obviously, Casey and what he stands for, you couldn't pick a better first recipient. And he was my big brother here at Iowa, and what better thing to follow him up in. He was my great big brother here. I followed him to Iowa, and now I follow him in this fantastic award. So that does mean a lot. Him and I are great friends, and that relationship that we built here at Iowa continues to grow.
You mentioned that obstacles in your NFL career. Can you talk about some of those, and how did maybe your farming background help you overcome those during those seasons?
Well, in a 12-year career, I had 13 surgeries, and like I said, in farming, sometimes things don't go your way. I can remember playing through a torn shoulder, a torn rotator cuff, and a torn labrum, and I think it was just the determination that that my parents instilled in me, and along the way that allowed me to do that. I had a blood clot that no one told me I would ever play again. Your career is over. But the work ethic my parents instilled and Coach Thomas reinforced. I just kept my nose to the grindstone. And what is that? That's the Iowa farmer, right? That's what Iowa people stand for. You just keep working, keep working, keep working. And I just took it off the farm and put it in a football setting. You get off the surgery table and just go back to work. And whatever the outcome is, I was going to be okay with it because I know I worked the hardest and the best that I could. And you gather those characteristics along the way, I believe. You look at the 4 of us, and I don't mean to diminish, Casey's talents and Aaron's and Brad's, and obviously all 3 of those are very talented players. Well, why were they able to sustain the lengthy careers that they all had? You know, Casey wasn't the biggest center or the fastest center, but yet he just kept working and kept working and kept working. Myself, Aaron, and Brad, we all had the same characteristics. We're just workers, you know. Well, I know we weren't the fastest, and we probably weren't the strongest, but we just kept working. We were dependable. And those are all characteristics of Iowans and Iowa farmers.
That had to be frustrating for you, your career, because every time you seemed to take a couple steps forward, I think 07, you had a really good year, and then a year or two later you tear your Achilles, or you had an ACL, I think, at one point. Just to kind of go through that had to be really difficult.
It was a hard time. You know, I was in a backup role. I come from all I knew was to be a starter here at the university, and so I'm in a backup role in Detroit. You know, your rookie season, you're excited about being in the NFL, and you tear your foot up. So you're on the shelf for 12 weeks. Well, most guys would have been put on IR. Well, Coach saw enough of me. As soon as I was, you know, got the cast off, he threw me out there. And things along the way didn't go exactly as I envisioned them. So then I keep working. I earn the respect of Rod Marinelli, and I become the starter and enjoying some success as a starter. And, you know, going into training camp the next year, I'm slated to be the starter at left end, and I tear my Achilles. But what do you do? So they said I'm done. Can't return. I rehab. I was running by the end of the season, and then the knee goes out, and that, you know, that's a hard pill to swallow. But hey, those are the facts, and I gave it my all, and you know, my body was just trying to tell me it was over.
Can you talk about your relationship with Ed Thomas throughout your NFL career? How close you remained with him?
Well, we would constantly, I shouldn't say constantly, we would talk, and you know, he's extremely interesting, unique person. I sometimes get a little emotional when I talk about him. So,
Do you want me to entertain you for a minute?
Yeah.
I'm sure it would.
he had the unique ability to get the most out of every guy on his team from top to bottom. And I think that's what made him so special. You know, didn't matter if you were the leading rusher or the water boy. He made you feel special, and he expected and demanded for you to do the right thing. And he didn't have a lot of rules because he didn't need a lot of rules, because not that 14 and 16-year-old kids don't make mistakes, because we all did, I did, but there was the one person, you know, that wanted the best for you and expected the best for you, and the tools that he gave me at the high school level, I carry with me today. And although we didn't talk every day, I could reflect on what he would want me to do or expect me to do in situations that we're trying. So I always fell back on those rules, the rules my parents taught me, the rules Coach Thomas taught me. So, special person.
Can you reflect on your time here at Iowa, and then you had a big decision to make whether or not you wanted to come back for your senior year, because you were a pretty high prospect, I think, after the 97 year, and then kind of a disappointing cap, I guess, for the Iowa career.
Yeah, disappointing would be understatement. You know, we you know, I judge seasons in wins and losses. You know, I mean, the only thing that ever mattered to me was wins or losses. You know, people would say, well, it's the offense. You know, I was just reciting this the other day, or recalling this, and well, the defense did pretty well. You held them to 10 points. Well, we didn't do well enough because they had 10 and we only had 3. So I always took the responsibility of the team, of the defense. It was a disappointing senior season. So in the respect of wins and losses, I mean, that's evident. You know, I think we're 3-8. We lost to Iowa State for the first time in who knows when. And don't think Casey doesn't jab me on that one. But the decision I made to stay goes far beyond those wins and losses. The friendships, the relationships I continue to build and grow that senior season, I would never give that up. You know, and the memories that I obtain every Saturday, I wouldn't want to give up. So that's why I came back. Am I disappointed I made that decision? Absolutely not. Well, you were 3-8. Well, there's a lot more that I gained through that year than I lost. And now, some years later, I mean, who knows, maybe I wouldn't have stayed in the league 12 years because I was immature and didn't have the tools that I needed to have a long career. So,
What are your recollections of Hayden and playing for him?
I remember Coach as to me, he was like the orchestrator, you know. He was a funny orchestrator, and he let his coaches work, and he was just a fantastic person. But he could feel the beat of the team. You know, he knew when he needed to be come down on us. He knew when he needed to be funny. Some of his jokes were dry, but funny. That's what I remember most about Coach Fry, and obviously the care that he showed to all his players. You know, I don't know if there's a more caring coach and a person in a university setting. So great memories of Coach and the time here.
Jared, you talk about how hard work farming is, and you're coming off a 12-year NFL career. You probably don't have to go back to farming, yet you do. What's the draw? Why do people keep returning to the farm?
Because it's part of you. It's in you. It's what you are. It's for me. It was my passion. I'm no longer able to play football. I'm still involved in football with coaching, but that was my second passion, and it's like your bloodline. It's what keeps your you're ticking. It keeps you getting up in the morning, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Be involved in at Clear Lake there, is that maybe a chance to kind of inspire some of those high school kids to maybe continue farming?
Yeah, maybe not farming, but inspire for sure. If I could have a small amount of influence on young people, as Coach would say it, and have just a percentage of influence of how he influenced, then my coaching is well worth the time, well worth the effort, because I realize the impact coaches, parents, teachers, they all have on kids, and it's a different world than I grew up in, that Denny grew up in. There's a lot more available to kids, and we need to teach, as Coach Thomas would say, we need to teach to do the right thing, to make the right choice. And if I can influence one person, then it was worth my time.
How often do you remind Casey that he grew up in town and not actually on a farm like you did?
Oh, I'm a pretty nice guy. Only when he calls from Kansas and gives me his opinion, I'm like, oh, really? We have a special relationship, and I don't know if you guys are in business with anybody, but it takes a working relationship, and Casey and I have that, and I'll call him, hey, you want me to sell the corn? Well, what's the price? Well, what do you think? And so it's been a treat to work with Casey and continue to build that relationship. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
He's told me before you give him a hard time because he's a city boy.
Well, spade is a spade.
All right, anything else?
I would just say, there's no question why, if you listen to Jared, why he wouldn't be a representative of ANF. I mean, just like Casey, and just like the people I'm sure that will follow him, they represent what we really want the ANF to stand for. The strong work ethic, the family values, and you listen to him talk about Ed Thomas, you understand the influence he had on their lives. And again, we're so happy to have him as a part of the ANF and the Wall of Honor. So thank you, Jared.